praises, honor, and glory belong to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. Double honors unto the elders and to the apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to the hopeful elect, alright, the men that are pushing this word out in the four corners, in the highways and byways, in truth and in sincerity. This is the brother Yakal, coming at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Alright, and I'm on the move. So I'll just speak on current events, because there's more to it. Speaking of the war that's currently ongoing between the U.S. and Iran, the U.S. and Israel versus Iran. All right, as more and more countries are looped into the war or the conflict. There's a lot that's coming out of it. Your news media is not telling you, your government is not telling you, and things are just happening on the back end that is really tying into prophecy beautifully. You got a lot of countries now that is enforcing different curfews and cutoff points and whatever. All right, as the pending energy crisis looms. All right, here in Guyana, what's happening is that there's a constant either power outage or load shedding. All right, as the Guyana Power and Light Company, tries to really, I say, save on fuel. All right, save on fuel or protect the grid. All right, and try to have power for the long run or in the long term. Right, you got certain gas stations, all right, here in Guyana that's already putting up signs of out of gas. They're already putting up signs of out of gas, and the gas prices, continue to rise. So should this thing really prolong, which through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, it will. All right. Should it prolong, or I should say, as it prolongs, you're going to see things become more and more, difficult. All right. The scripture talk about, in 2nd Ezra's 15, 2nd Ezra 16, of the looting. People ain't gonna regard the princes or the kings. All right. People gonna spoil people's houses for the lack of bread. And all these different prophecies that is really looming. All right, because what you see happening as this energy crisis continue is the prices for food. All right, as I already mentioned, the price of gas of itself has already hiked. So the prices of food is also gonna start to spike. All right, it's gonna start to spike because you need the fuel, to produce, to cook, or to run the factories or whatever. All right, and as the price of gas and different fossil continue to go up, so subsequently is the price of food, because obviously you got your logistics that need fossil to transport. The different cargo ships and whatever need the fossil to do what you gotta do. All right, same as whether it be to process it, the factories, they also need the fossil to burn and to do what they gotta do too. And that's the downfall of an industrial system, where everything is literally reliant on petrol, where everything needs fossil to run. All right, so you know, as this thing continue, you're gonna see, you know, things are going to get a lot worse. All right, it's going to get a lot worse. You know, you got certain countries right now, constant power outages. All right, constant power outages. You see, you got countries right now saying that, hey, by 9 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the evening or in the night, you know, certain malls and different major establishments that would consume a lot of power need to shut down. All right, and then they could pick it up back, you know, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning again. You know, to conserve on energy. All right. Now, the other thing that you know, they're not telling you is that the American dollar obviously continue to crash. But one of the things that's happening is that Iran is pushing heavily the use of the Chinese yuan, you know, as the new petrodollar. All right, and ISA is not going to have that. The elites are not going to have that. You know, so hey, from the look of it, they are going to say, hey, let's squash that. We ain't gonna get a divide on the financial system. So let's usher in the use of digital currency, of that one digital currency. You know, and they are going to make payments, buy and sell, and do everything that they got to do through that digital currency. You know, so while we know that World War III is not going to kick off unless the MOTB becomes mandatory, all right, you know, but one of the things that, and this is all Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and I just speak as a man, what you could find is that these proxy wars and things that's kicking off here and there are going to fast track the push of the MOTB, you know, so that World War III could happen. You know, like the apostle Tahar said that, hey, we in World War III. No, this not to say you know, the great destruction, all right, that hasn't happened as yet, all right, or that isn't happening right now. But you know, what you're seeing is that as this thing heat up, you're seeing how the Mosai is going to use it to fast track the prophecies. You know, that's what the scripture say. Lest the days be shortened. Yeah, the days are being shortened. You know, also one of the creed that the Edomites go by is what? Order out of chaos. All right. So they are going to use this chaos to what? To implement the order that comes with the MOTB, the New World Order. You know, they are going to do that. You know, through the Spirit and power Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So, hey, as this thing continue to progress, we seeing how great the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is. You know, we seeing how beautiful times this time is. All right, this is yappa times. You know, a lot of shit that's happening. Now you got China, all right, also you know, making moves on Taiwan. Why? Because or you know, our master, our husband, or whatever you want to call it, America is all tied up here and there and everywhere. You know, so now China is free to do whatever they want to do. And you know, based on I was reading an article on the strategy that China is employing, it's not the fast attack game, it's a slow, you know, what they call the anaconda strategy, you know, where they're basically surrounding Taiwan, all right, and squeeze them slowly, you know, shut off the supply chain, shut off cargo ships coming in and out, and all these different things, you know. So hey, we could see another Russia and Ukraine kind of situation, all right, happening over there too. You see? So that's what the scripture say. The scripture say what? That Matthew chapter 24, 2nd Ezra chapter 16, 2nd Ezra chapter 13, that what? That these countries gonna have war one with another, one people against another, so on and so forth. All right, these are those are signs of the time, signs of the time, or signs of Yahushua about to make his return, pretty soon. All right, that's where we are. That's where we are. All right, but your government ain't telling you this. Your leaders are not telling you this. Especially here in Guyana, people are so caught up with, a lot of foolery, and you seeing how how the social media especially is being used as a great tool of distraction, where they pushing these different characters on the media that's just distracting people from everything that's going on in the world. They're just distracting people from everything that's going on in the world. All right, just have to overtake there, man. Yeah, so hey, beautiful times, beautiful times. All right, beautiful times. That's what we're living in. You see, beautiful times. All right, you got the Caribbean Container Inc. All right, saying that, hey, stock up now or pay later, warning people in the Caribbean, to stock up on different food stuff, dry food that can keep for a period of time, as this war continues, all right, or as this war progresses, because from the looks of it, supply chain is also going to be affected. All right, and look, it's already been affected with the Russia-Ukraine war, and to this day we don't see certain things on the shelves anymore as we used to. So we about to see the same on the happening through the Iran-US war too. All right, we about to see the same happening again. So hey, everything they're not telling you, but the information is out there. All right, and we are the watchers. The prophets of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai are the ones that are watching, and keeping record, because hey, the Lord revealed these things unto us. So we watching, we see what's happening. All right, and well, we reporting it. That's what we are. That's who we are, the watchers. The watchmen. All right. So, Lord's will, this quick one was edifying, giving all praises, honor and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Makakodash, Shalom.